Okay, we are now ready to go. It's time for our monthly chat series called What's the Buzz? If you're not familiar with this monthly chat series, it's the second Tuesday of every month at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for 20 minutes, where I bring in someone to chat about a specific topic, educational, tips and tricks, industry specific, could be anything. And so excited to have Zubin and Cindy here from Dynamic Budgets to chat all about reporting. And not just reporting for core financials. How about reporting for usage and audit trails and who is doing what, where, and why? And why aren't the budgets? Why aren't the budgets done? Why can't we have the system tell us all the things that they want to talk about today in regards to all the reporting that you can do. So very excited to have both of you here to chat about that. So I will let you take it away, and I will be launching some poll questions as you guys start chatting with everybody. So welcome, Zubin and Cindy.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Thanks for the introduction there. And we'll just go ahead and warm up the audience a little bit here and get a sense. Are you a partner or a customer?
Obviously, if you're on LinkedIn, you can't answer these, but you can let us know in the comments. We got two partners here. Woohoo!
All righty. And a couple other questions here.
Yes. Next, go back.
So from a partner perspective, we'd be curious to hear what some of you're doing.
Hold on, wait a second.
So I want you to feel free to come off mute and ask questions. We want this to be interactive, not necessarily just preaching to the choir. Not quite sure how that works with broadcasting to LinkedIn and YouTube, but
one said they would come off mute, and one said if you pay me. So
might have to bribe you with Starbucks next time we see you at the conference.
And then today's topic, as you know, we're talking about reporting, but not just any kind of reporting. So what do you know about today's topic based on what I've said? If you can, if I helped at all answer that.
Righty.
Some of our apps have user activity reporting.
Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, what we wanted to talk about today is formally called telemetry reporting, informally more like user activity reporting, what's going on in the system type of reporting. A lot of what we've traditionally seen focused on is, okay, I need to generate the budget reports. We have a budgeting software package, so let's back up. Our company is called Dynamic Budgets. We have a budgeting tool that's been in the Dynamics GP space for about the last 13 years, and we are now branching over to Acumatica, Intact, NetSuite, and Business Central. So available on all of those platforms. A lot of our customers have been asking us, so how much reporting can you do with your tool? Can you replace Management Reporter? They may have other tools that they're working with. They may have some aspirations to work with Power BI or Tableau, but generally it's been focused on, I need to generate my profit and loss report and see if we're profitable and make some tweaks to the budget and run some budget to actual reports. And I'd like to run the budget to actual on a variance report on a monthly basis. How can we get into that routine? So all of that's been kind of operational or basically kind of end results focused from our perspective. So we've been feature creeping, adding more reporting capabilities into the product for that. But also kind of in parallel, over the last 2 years, we've been transitioning to a hosting arrangement where we're now offering a hybrid cloud service. Our customers were traditionally installed on premise on GP, and now they're moving to the cloud ERPs, and things are getting a little bit more fuzzy and flexible. So as we get up to the cloud, we started looking at kind of alternative reports from our perspective. Since we're now hosting for our customers, we have concerns about data center operations. The congestion on our potential congestion on the databases, performance tuning of the databases, things like that. But also we'd like to become more proactive about don't want to be intrusive, but want to be proactive about monitoring which of our customers are active at the moment, which ones are currently engaged in budgeting, or is it the off season? Are they in between the budget and the forecast? Does it look like the admins are working in the payroll module versus end users doing direct data entry? Trying to get a sense for what they might be doing and exploring how can we offer proactive support services. Do an outbound call, say, hey, we noticed that there's a lot of activity in XYZ area. How are things going? And do you need any assistance, any guidance? We've traditionally just been waiting for support messages to come inbound. So just curious as to what other partners are doing. If you're kind of monitoring your telemetry reports and taking any actions on that from a customer service perspective. What this kind of means, we'll kind of roll this over to Cindy to do some hands-on demos for you. But there's two styles of reports that we're looking at. One is going to be sort of data center operations, kind of like the high level, us looking at things in general. And then we also have started working on reports that we'll actually hand over to the customers, such that the customers can monitor their own systems. And when the boss says, why hasn't Nathan finished his budget? Or has Nathan even started his budget? You could actually kind of poke around and find out what's going on. So we'll kind of get into customer-centric reports, customer-specific reports versus data center reports. So I'll kind of hand this over to Cindy.
Great. Thank you, Zubin. So as he explained, we really want to see what everyone is doing within dynamic budgets to ensure, do they need any assistance? Where are they spending the most time within each module? So for instance, you'll see one of our company names. We're going to choose this one, SP1095. They're spending a lot of hours in our system, and you're able to click within that company to see who are the users. Are they one of our top 10 users with the most logins within our program? Have they logged in the past 7 days? And you can see about 7 of their users logged in on May 8th. So this may mean that they are starting their budgeting, entering their details in, hitting the specific modules, and you'll see assumptions, which is where we enter our budget details, is where they're spending the most time. In the gold color, you'll notice it's more of our other modules, which is our hourly staffing, our employees. So they are working on building their staffing model within our program. And then you'll be able to kind of see how many hours have they been in our system the past 7 days. And maybe this is kind of something where you can motivate them. Hey, I can see how much you have logged in. The more hours you're spending refining your budget, entering details of what you're budgeting in each GL, you can reward them. Maybe they like Starbucks gift cards, or maybe Amazon gift cards, things like that, that motivates them to go into the system, because we can see. And once you tell them like, hey, I can see who's the most person logged in, we can go ahead and start rewarding people to make them feel like they want to log in.
I would probably say the rewards are probably more appropriate within the customer. This is kind of the top level, us just monitoring activity. So I'd probably defer that one to the next report.
Perfect. Thank you. And this is where Zubin would most likely be asking his questions. Who's logged in the most? Is there anyone we want to reach out to? So if this company is logging in the most, maybe we want to just check in with them. Hey, we see that you've been logging in more often this week. Is there anything that we can help you with?
Yeah, I'll interrupt for a second. From a data center perspective, we provision individual SQL servers for each of our customers. And we've got those into an arrangement, elastic pooling, whereby we've got these set up to serverless configuration. What that means is that we get billed for every hour that the machine is on. And if a machine is inactive for more than an hour, it puts itself to sleep and stops billing us. This information, these reports are as good as the inbound information. So sometimes you may have to tweak things. Right now, the way that we measure duration is the delta between when the person clicked the search button or save button last. We may find out that the person that's got 800 hours logged into the system may have logged in 2 weeks ago, Thursday, in their remote terminal session, closed the terminal server window without actually logging out, left the session alive, and then logged in 3 weeks later and accumulated that many hours. So there may be some ghosts in the system. There may be some sort of false indicators here, but in general, kind of gives us a sense of what's going on. That might be useful information to pass on to the customer when they're complaining that the terminal server is drained of resources and everything's running really slowly. Well, it seems like you've got some people with orphan sessions running. You might want to go kill off those sessions. So there's information, nice little nuggets in here that you can pass along, different ways to interpret the data.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our customer metrics, which is a different format of what we have seen on the first page. This just kind of gives us more detail. Are inactive users rising? Do we need to make sure we need to track them down and just reach out to see how well they're doing? We still are able to see the top 10 users who have the most logins, the past 7 days who has logged in. As you hover, you'll be able to get more additional details of how many minutes they have spent using our program, and then who are the top 10 companies that has logged in. Then at the top, we'll be able to kind of answer any questions that Zubin asked me. What's the average login time? What's our total logins of our users? So these are quick points that I can kind of throw to him if he needs a quick question to answer or to ask me, and then I can kind of quickly view what's going on within our database.
So on the back side of these things, interesting to see who's logged in and what they're doing, but then you'd also want to kind of track that to the Azure performance reports and see, okay, how much load is there on the servers? If we see that there's particular date or time periods of a day, we might want to kind of change our timeline there instead of looking at day over and do some tuning on that. The beauty of Azure is that you can change the performance settings of these things on the fly, but you can also pre-program it, maybe set that up. If you know that Wednesdays are a heavy day where everyone's hammering on the budgets, or if you know that someone's going to be loading this up, you can make some setting changes behind the scenes on the hosting side. So just a couple different ways of slicing and dicing the data. I think before we move over to the customer-centric reports, I'd just kind of open this up to Danny and Chad, see if you've got any perspective that you'd want to share about your companies and the way that you're approaching things.
I don't know a whole lot, right? And I'm just listening, so.
Okay. Chad, any perspective from your side?
Yeah, I'm here learning as well, but I appreciate it.
Okay. All righty.
Beautiful. So let me go ahead and switch over to our customer view. And this is our ABC company. And this is kind of where I jumped ahead earlier. We're saying who is our leader? This is a great view of it, of who are the users within the company, who are working within the system. So for instance, if I clicked on G2 Tech, I will filter to see what has happened the last 7 days. So you'll notice it does show you the timeline. So if our overview of our database, if more users are in one company, we can actually come in and see what's going on with that, maybe a specific user or the whole database itself. And he was logged in periodically through over the time. He was working on his assumptions as well as other dimensions and custom worksheets. So this is great if you're trying to see who is doing what within the system and are they really doing what they're supposed to do. So for instance, let's say if I was like, hey, Zubin, have you went in and worked on your budget? He's like, yeah, I did that 2 weeks ago. I can actually go in here and see within our audit trails, did he go in 2 weeks ago and worked on our budget? So let's check, and I'm going to select 2024 budget to see if he went in and worked on there. And it'll allow to see what's the current version. So he worked on it a few months ago, as you can see as a test, and you'll be able to drill down to which accounts he hit and what assumptions he put in, as well as the values here. So this is kind of great of not having everything all in one place and seeing what's going on and just checking on your users of, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Because we want to make sure when you are budgeting or forecasting or have a project for them that they're going to complete it on time, and you're able to just check to see very quickly of what's going on all in one area.
Yeah, I'll give an example. We had a customer call us up about a week ago and said, Zubin, I think one of our users did her entire budget in the 24 budget. She was supposed to be working in the 25 budget. I don't know how many accounts she broke and how many things need to be fixed. And I need to figure out how to roll back all of the 24 stuff to match what we submitted to the board and approved 6 months ago. So A, I need to fix 24, and B, I need to transfer all over 25 data out of 24 back into the proper 25. So we have this type of reporting built into the application. We did a little bit more magic work behind the scenes to get it out in bulk a little bit faster, but imagine that the customers, something that for dynamic budget customers, we're going to be starting to roll out to you, get your feedback, that you could have this as a reporting tool to kind of go in a little bit faster from the top end without having to poke around within the application.
Yeah, so for instance, I'm going to choose myself just to see what has been going on, and you can drill down to the day of when I worked on it. So let's say I worked on May 5th. And you'll notice that I touched these specific account numbers, but there are prior versions of it. So maybe that I was the one that went in and put it into the 24 budget, but I was supposed to put it in the 25 budget. So you can pinpoint which accounts I hit to quickly go back and adjust if you need it right away.
A case in point, we closed the budget April 1st. So why are there any edits past April 1st? Why? Because I forgot to lock the budget. Oops. If your end users are, just never underestimate how creative they can be about finding a way to break things. So my fault for not locking the budget, but now I have to fix it. So this is kind of a tool where we can go out there and research. Looks like the last time prior to April 1, the last edit was March 18th. So we'd expose what was done on March 18th, copy that data and roll it back to that state in the application. Now we've got some methods of doing that for a large number of accounts, just probably with raw SQL queries, but just kind of a quick example of how you can do that research here. This is one of our modules for the direct data entry that somebody would have keyed in, but we've got audit trails set up on the payroll module, on the allocations modules, on the core master tables. We've tried to add audit trails into a lot of different aspects of the application to try to prevent the users from shooting themselves in the foot, or more likely when they do, to be able to recover from that and restore back. This is all database, hosted in databases, so you can always do rollback the entire database, but generally we don't want to do that. So we've tried to be very granular in some of the most critical areas of the application to give them rollback capabilities.
Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and jump over this visual of a timeline of what's going on within the program. You can adjust the timeline I just have currently for the month, but you can see prior years. But you'll be able to kind of hover and see who's working on what module are they working on, if it's consistent. So they are logging every day to enter their assumptions. If you then notice a dip, maybe something occurred, or maybe you locked the budget where there shouldn't be any more assumptions. Like Zubin said, if someone forgot and then you see that assumption rise, that's a key sign of making sure you go back in to check that your budget's locked, but then going down the rabbit hole, what changes did they make to make sure that your budget didn't really change if you're doing any comparison reports.
So we had filtered
ahead.
this report to the top of the page for 24 budget. You could flip to 24 forecast, 25 budget. You should see different time periods of activity, and ideally one should stop on a certain date and the other one should start on the next date. So if you've got them overlapping, we can change the visuals probably and kind of commingle different budgets on the same screen at the same time. This is all the fun part of designing these reports. Cindy is very visual. She's done a lot of work in Tableau and Power BI, and we're really excited to have her on board the team. But this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg for us starting these types of reports. What you see is not necessarily what you get. This is the starting point for the conversation that what's important to you? What should we be focusing on? Do we need to kind of look at different styles? And more than happy to tweak these as necessary.
I'll show you one last one, which is a different style that Zubin mentioned, is where they're spending the most time, which modules they are in. So you're able to see where your users are. Majority, it is going to be assumptions because they're entering their budget details. But then if you have a really heavy finance team and they're in there working through all the different custom worksheets, they're working on the staffing, entering their payroll assignments within a specific budget, you know everyone's working on it. If you're lacking in one area, you can kind of pinpoint of who should you reach out to say, hey, do you need any assistance on entering your budget, adjusting the forecast, and so forth. So you'll be able to see visually, and there's tons of different visuals. If you're not a pie chart person, maybe like columns or bars or any more visual effects, you can search for it and you can kind of draw a picture. And majority of the time, you can find what you want to have shown.
So one thing from a partner perspective, I would love to reach out and network with other partners, other companies that are doing similar types of reports from an ISV perspective or from a VAR perspective. One of the interesting things we're looking at is how do we build a standard template report and then deploy that to our customers. So Power BI has the ability to set up parameters, and you can save a report as a template, and you could send that template to your user, and maybe there's a parameter for database name, and there's one for database company and for their credentials. You can save this as a template, send it to them, and it opens up as an untitled report, even though you said customer budget report .pbit, Power BI template. It opens up as untitled.pbir or PBIX. And as soon as you've put in your parameters, it automatically saves that report, or you can hit a save as report, and it saves it as a specific report to that customer. So it's interesting that you can design a generic one, parameterize certain database connections, and have it basically stitch itself into your customer's environment. There's a whole nother aspect on the technical design of these reports in terms of import mode versus direct query mode. And because we're using Azure SQL databases, we have the ability to write these reports as direct queries such that you don't have to be reliant upon a scheduled refresh. When the customer opens up the report, it could live query your databases and fetch latest information. The refresh routine can be a little bit cumbersome in the Power BI service. So if you could just open the report and have latest data without having to do anything, that looks really attractive. So we're trying to go through some of those bits and pieces and get all that down. So would love to network with other ISVs, other VARs as to how you're building out template reports, direct query reports, trying to deploy those to your customers.
Well, those are like some exciting reports. I can see how it could be very insightful for companies to, get the insights on what they're doing in the system and where they're spending their time, how much time they're spending, so forth. So yeah, very exciting, Zubin and Cindy. Thanks for sharing.
All righty. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And we'll probably see you guys at Summit. Going to be focusing on internal operations for the next couple months. But look forward to seeing you in San Antonio in October. I think that's the next event. Probably also at AccuConnect. That's September-ish, right?
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, so thanks everyone for joining us for this month's What's the Buzz monthly chat series. I will be sending out a recording in case you want to view it again or if you missed it. So stay tuned for that in your emails. And thank you again for joining us today. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.